Hello and welcome to YourGov Non-Part Political Science and Government for Everyone. And today we would like to talk about the very serious issue of impeachment. Now, in previous videos we've talked about the act of censure, which is a congressional act of condemnation, and the more serious crime of contempt of Congress. Impeachment is part of the process by which an official, either elected or appointed, is removed from office. Under the Constitution, impeachment is specifically for the purpose of removing somebody from office, not for necessarily convicting them of a crime. The process takes place both at the congressional federal level and in each of the 50 legislatures in the states. But we're going to concentrate today on the federal level because the process is pretty much the same in all the states. Impeachment is the legislative equivalent of the judicial system's indictment, where somebody is accused, and an indictment would be brought forth by a grand jury. An impeachment is brought forth by the House of Representatives. Now, the initial accusation can be brought forth by an individual congressperson, it can be brought forth by a committee, it can be brought forth by the president, by a state or even territorial legislature, a special prosecutor, or even by petition. Once the accusation has been made, there are direct and indirect ways it travels through the process, but ultimately it's going to end up in the House Judiciary Committee. The House Judiciary Committee will consider it, they will debate it, they will discuss it, and if they find that there is sufficient grounds to carry forth with a resolution for impeachment, they will then bring this to the floor of the House. Now, in a future video we'll talk about the differences between what is a resolution, what is an act, what is a bill, but this is a resolution for impeachment. The indictment, or the impeachment, is brought to the floor and voted on by the House of Representatives. Basically saying, we believe there is grounds for this person to be tried for expulsion. A conviction of impeachment does not automatically constitute an expulsion. It is simply the act of a hearing as to whether there are grounds. This requires a simple majority in the House of Representatives of those present. In other words, a simple majority of a quorum. Now, if you are unfamiliar with quorum, you can see our previous video on the quorum, and I'll try and put a link in below and maybe here on the video. But it's a simple majority of those present. If the individual is convicted, they're impeached, but they're not expelled. It's a hearing. It then goes to the United States Senate, where the actual trial is carried out. The individual is allowed counsel and usually has a large number of lawyers and counselors, and the process is very much like a trial in the judicial system. If convicted, the Constitution calls for immediate expulsion from their office. A conviction in the Senate, however, requires a 2/3 majority of all members duly sworn. Not a quorum, but all members duly sworn. Therefore, you need at least 67 yea votes in the Senate to get a conviction for an act of impeachment. Now, this can apply to both elected or appointed officials, from the president all the way down to appointed federal district judges, cabinet members, but any official that acts in an official capacity within the government would go to be expelled from their office, has to go through an impeachment process to be expelled. There have been judges which have been impeached and convicted and expelled from the bench. There have been 2 presidents which have been impeached but not convicted in the Senate, Which is why you could say, yes, there have been presidents that have been impeached, but they were never convicted, so they were acquitted, so they were expelled. To say, it's one of those terms that people have a tendency to confuse with automatic expulsion, and it's not true. The conviction in the Senate is automatic expulsion. The interesting thing about impeachment, or the eccentricity about it, is that the president does not have the power to pardon somebody from an act of impeachment. It is strictly expulsion from office, and it is not pardonable. However, after someone is impeached, the actions that brought that on may in fact bring on criminal charges within the judiciary system, and the president can and does have the power to pardon the person for those criminal acts, but he cannot reinstate them. He cannot pardon an act of impeachment if they've been convicted. So that is one of the few restrictions on the act of pardon given to the executive branch in the United States. So hopefully we've helped explain the difference between expulsion and impeachment, and where those start, and that these can also happen at the legislative branch within states. It is possible, and has happened in recent years, where a governor was impeached and convicted and removed from office. So hopefully this helps explain this term, which is often misunderstood, to you much better. I want to thank you for watching Your Gov Don Part's segment on impeachment. We hope that you'll consider picking subscribe above and join us. You can always find us on Facebook. If you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below, and we will do our very best to answer your questions. We hope that you'll take the time to rate this video. That's very important to us. And as always, thank you for watching.